So with Brock Purdy sidelined due to injury, could this be a hidden advantage for the 49ers as his contract negotiations loom? Plus, something else to look at. If Purdy misses more games, does it give Kyle Shanahan an excuse if the team misses the playoffs? I mean, there's a lot of ways these things could shape. What do you think?
I see what you mean, right? Like this could save the Niners a whole lot of money because now what we're seeing with Brock is, well, you may have injury issues like Jimmy G had. You are small, you are kind of frail, you run around, you don't really protect yourself that much. You may have gotten hurt scrambling in the first quarter against the Seahawks. Maybe you're not the kind of, you've already had UCL surgery, like you keep injuring your throwing arm. Maybe you're not the kind of guy that a team should invest a 5-year deal in. So maybe it's good for the 49ers in that sense to like learn that now and potentially avoid giving out a contract that they would regret for the next generation. That's one, because I don't think they should be giving Brock Purdy that big contract, and all of a sudden it's starting to look like he probably won't get that big contract.
Well, one of the things that I've noticed as well is that there may be a little bit of movement as far as how guys are going to get signed moving forward, as far as trusting the football side, Kyle and John versus Parag Marate basically getting marching orders from the Orcs, right? So this would also be kind of a misnomer into how deals are going to get done in the future. Maybe they may say, hey, this may be just a change to how Brock is going to get paid just because of how the process is. It may be different, right? There may be no infrastructure of back and forth, and then Kyle swoops in the 11th hour and gets to put on his cape and close the deal. So that may be something to look at as well. Do you think that Brock not playing, what's your over under on Brock not playing as far as how it would affect his contract negotiations moving forward?
I think it would affect them because he needs to show that he's durable and he could be there. Like if they give him all this money, are you even going to be on the field? Because I think that's what the Niners ultimately used against Jimmy Garoppolo. It's like, hey man, like we win with you and like you put up good numbers. You know, you're not the greatest quarterback, but it works. But like you're not out there enough. You get hurt.
Right.
You know, you've gotten hurt multiple times, and like Brock Purdy seems to be going a similar direction. And I think what's interesting is like they were struggling with him. They're 5-5 with him. They were underdogs against the Packers with him, but now, since he's out and Brandon Allen's the quarterback, like there's a lot less heat on Kyle Shanahan. When he lost to the Seahawks and Geno Smith with Brock Purdy on the field, like Niners fans' heads exploded. But now he's back in the position where like no pressure, not expected to win. If they win, he's the greatest coach of all time. And if he even puts up 25 points, he might be a genius. So I think he's in a much better spot.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that he's in a much better spot. I mean, and moving forward, I think that one of the things that we've seen, you look for like different versions of what Brock's deal could look like. And we've already talked about Baker Mayfield's deal, right? And understanding that with what Baker Mayfield has done, I don't think that it was a good look for us to play against Baker Mayfield in the game where I think that Baker Mayfield outplayed Brock. And if you look at it, just let me ask you this. Let me ask you a question. If you gave us Baker Mayfield and put Brock Purdy on the Bucs that day, what's the outcome of that game?
I think the Niners win it.
Right.
I think they win it with Baker. Maybe I'm wrong. I think he's a little bit better than Brock. And maybe Brock might have been injured at that point. But I want to point something out. Like we learned a lot from Kyle yesterday. He essentially said that Brock had an MRI on Monday and the team didn't think it was a big deal. He's like, we got the results. I mean, we didn't anticipate any of this. We thought with a little bit of rest, he'd be good. And then he went out there on Thursday and it was better than he expected. And now like, we don't really know what to expect because the MRI said no big deal, but he can't throw. So he might not even play next week. Like,
that's the next
weird.
That's kind of like the next question that this situation kind of lies out. They already had the MRI done. Is this something that can linger into multiple weeks? Is this just a one-off? Is this something where Brock just needs rest and they're pacing him out to see how he looks when they try him out again once he gets back here from Green Bay? Or is this something that has legs, right? Are we going to be looking at the Brandon Allen show? One thing that I will say is that
it sounds like he's saying there's nothing structurally wrong with his shoulder, although he has come out and said it. But if he said we looked at the MRI and thought he could play this week, then it seems like they're kind of saying, well, We don't
This is when
really
you.
know. I mean, he says it hurts. He says he can't throw. We're just kind of waiting for him to clear himself. That's what it sounds like. Maybe I'm
I mean,
wrong. I hope he's not questioning Brock's toughness, but maybe it's just one of those things. It's like, I'm not in his body. If he says he can't throw, he can't throw.
the only thing about that worries me is that you've seen situations like this throughout the season, right? After the loss, Kyle goes to Brock and directly has a conversation with him in front of his locker. You look at some of the way that the drives have been coming out, where Kyle is kind of asking Brock to, execute my offense. I'm not necessarily going to pace you out and protect you with the run game. You're going to be able to run what I call. Are you seeing do you see that Kyle maybe putting in a little bit of culpable deniability, kind of distancing himself from Brock? So if his performance, not to say that he wants Brock to fail, but if he does fail, it'll be by Brock's merit and his merit alone.
Well, I think that's an interesting point that you bring up. Like, everyone knows that the offense hasn't been performing up to expectations this year, especially in the red zone. And the question is, like, what has been not just the red zone. It's like yak is down. Separation is down. Like, where are the wide open throws? And it's, some people say they're out there and that Brock is just choosing to throw into tight windows or choosing to scramble. So now Kyle has an opportunity. Like, Brandon Allen isn't going to scramble. Brandon Allen is just going to execute the offense the way Kyle wants him to the best of his ability. And if the offense is somehow better than it was with Brock running around the last few weeks, then that's stock up for Kyle and stock down for Brock. Can you imagine how much money Brock Purdy could theoretically lose this weekend if, say, Brandon Allen wins and plays well?
Oh, 100%. If like Kyle, and we've actually spoken about this, so I don't want to take this as my take, but we both agreed that this is pretty much one of the most non-pressure games for Kyle that he's going to see all season. Nobody expects him to do anything from a coaching perspective as far as winning this game, let alone dominating it whatsoever. So if the Niners, I'm going to tell you this right now, Grant, there's a world, in my opinion, where we could barely lose this game and put up a good fight. And
that's what I'm talking about. Because with no Bosa, it's a tall task to win. But let's say they lose 30-31 or something like that.
2017. Same the way we lost last week.
That's a good point. All they got to do is score 18 points, and all of a sudden it's like, well, wait a second. Yeah. Good point. It's a low bar.
So let's get some super chats out of the way real quick.
Sure.
Ivan Tina, thank you. As long as Moody plays, we have a chance.
Was that a Packers fan?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even, to be honest, it could be. I don't even notice this name. AI25, what game this year has told us Purdy is the guy? Ooh.
Yikes.
I don't have a game this year.
There isn't one.
I don't have
his last great game was what? In Philly against Dallas? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Against in Jacksonville? In Pittsburgh? I don't know. He had a few last year.
Yeah, it's pretty. He had a few last year, but I don't think that Brock has had a distinguishable game this year where he carried us. He's carried us in drives, though. Definitely. There's been drives where Brock has carried us. The first drive, honestly, drive 1 versus Seattle, without Brock scrambling, I don't think we score. We don't score.
Remember, he scrambled, slipped, fell, and then next play scrambled for a touchdown. Like the same play.
Yeah. But before that, but even earlier in that drive, he had an 8-yard run. He had a 3-yard run. Like, he was actually running a lot to get that drive done.
And I think he got hit and got hurt on one of those runs. I think he did. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, in that drive, that drive was 12 plays, 71 yards for 8 minutes and change. Out of that drive, there were 7 runs. Okay. 3 runs by Christian McCaffrey, 2 runs by Jordan Mason, and 2 runs by Brock Purdy, surmising 44 yards of the 71. The running the ball it's there. Even when they accidentally get to it, they have to run the ball.
Let me say something blasphemous real quick. I don't mean to pile on Brock, but like, I understand why he didn't say anything about his injury during the game. He's a tough guy. He wants to stay in the game. He's got a lot of money riding on this, but like, if he had gotten paid already, and if he had told Kyle, hey man, like, I'm gutting this out, but my shoulder's messed up and I don't really trust my arm right now. Maybe Kyle doesn't call that throw on 2nd and 11 with the lead with 2.5 minutes left. Like, he couldn't make that throw.
That's fair.
He couldn't make that throw. And you need to tell the coach, like, dude, I can't make this throw because we're going to lose if you call this play. And they lost.
Yeah.
100%. So I think he cost him a little bit. He was trying to be tough, but he cost him.
No, I think that, that's fair. I don't think that's tough. You have to understand there is a little bit of, I mean, there's a conversation. This is a real conversation around Brock. He's been trying to do a little too much with the offense. He hasn't
He's trying to
necessarily
get paid. He's
trying to get paid.
I mean,
Yes.
he's a nice young Christian guy with all the right values, but $60 million a year is $60 million a year, and that'll make anyone, dig deep. It's gonna motivate anyone. There's nothing wrong with that. But like, man, he's trying to do a little too much.
Oh yeah, he's doing way too much.